Okay, this assignment is the picture montage. We're going to show you some new techniques on how you can adjust pictures and create kind of a neat scene with them. If you haven't gone to my website and look at some of the examples, you might want to do that. And you would find it on my web design website underneath pictures, and then it will drop you down, and then here at Fireworks Pictures, create a picture montage. And I have 3 examples here that you might want to take a look at that will be creating something like this. Here you can see a lot of pictures about this event, and you can certainly see some text here and telling us what those pictures have in common. Here's another example, example 2. Here's kind of a rafting where this person took a picture of rapids and superimposed some different scenes of rafting. Another example here. This is Batman versus Superman, and it's got a main theme in the middle here, and then some other pictures around the outside. You can choose whatever theme you want when you do yours. For our example, we're going to choose a space theme. So go to see the pictures before we get going. Let's take a look at the pictures we'll be using. So go to your My Computer, then go to the Shared Student Drive, and find the Ryan Web Design folder, the Ryan Web Design folder. And in there you should see a folder called Picture Montage. And when you open up that, if you can't see the pictures, go to the View menu and choose Thumbnails. When you choose Thumbnails and kind of resize, you can see the different pictures that we'll be using. And I don't know exactly how this is going to turn out. We're going to kind of see how it goes, but I envision using the NASA symbol in the center and then using these pictures around the outside to create kind of a montage of space pictures. Okay, so let's go now to Fireworks, open up Fireworks, and at any point if I'm going too fast, remember to stop the video, rewind it, and re-listen or re-watch what I'm doing here. If you want to go back to my website and look at those examples again, you can do that now or later. We'll bring up Fireworks. When you open Fireworks, you'll get a dialog box like this. Click on New, Create New. Now, if you have already into it and you don't have this dialog box, if you go to the File menu and choose New, you'll get this new dialog box popping up. We are going to print this out when you're finished on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, a regular paper. So what we want to do is make sure we fit everything inside that 8.5 by 11. We want to make sure our canvas is smaller than 8.5 by 11. So the first thing you do, yours probably says pixels right here. And the first thing we want to do is change the height and width to inches. So click and change this to inches. And the width, instead of it being 8.5, we might want to go 7.5. So we have an inch margin. So I'm going to put 7.5. And the height, 8.5 by 11, instead of 11, we're going to make it 10. So we've got an inch margin around our paper when we print it out. Okay? Go ahead and say OK. And that brings us up with our canvas. And our canvas right now is white. The first thing we want to do is give our canvas a little color. Since we're printing it out in black and white, you don't want to do like a red or a yellow because it won't mean anything. So come down here to your properties, and under Canvas Color, click on that. And I've already got it selected here. I was looking at it earlier. Yours probably looks like this. Come to this arrow on the right-hand side, the upper right-hand corner there, and choose Grayscale. And this is good if you know you're going to be printing out in a black and white printer. Choose the grayscale so you can get a little more control over exactly what it looks like. And I'm going to come over here and choose kind of a light gray, something along those lines. So I have like that's probably too dark. So something in the middle of the second line, the middle of the second row. Choose something along there, just to give it a little gray, not too much. It gives it a little color in the background. Now, we're going to start importing our pictures. So to import our pictures, go to the File menu, choose File, Import, and then go to the Shared Student folder, click the little drop-down box, go to the Shared Student folder, scroll over towards the end, find Ryan Web Design, and in the Ryan Web Design there is a folder called Picture Montage. So we'll open up that Picture Montage. All of the pictures we'll be using will be coming from here. If you want to see what each one of these pictures look like, in your Import dialog box, the button on the far right hand side is the View menu. If you click the drop down menu on that and choose Thumbnails, you get a little picture of it. And you should be able to, if you come down and click on the edge, resize it a little bit so you can see more pictures. Okay? You can see the pictures that we'll be using. Go ahead and choose the NASA logo, and you have to give it sometimes a half a second till it comes up in this preview menu. Then you can click Open. Now when you click Open, remember your mouse changes shapes into that triangle or the 90-degree angle. If you just click, the picture is inserted in its normal size, and it could be very big or it could be very small. So go ahead and just click, and notice how big this logo is. And we would have to resize it to fit on our sheet. And we really don't want to do that because that could be an extra step. So go ahead and delete, hit delete, and let's import it again. So go File, Import, find that NASA logo again. When it comes up into the preview, click Open, and this time we're going to click and drag to make it the size we want. So click and hold and drag till it's about that size. Okay? Then you can click and move it in the middle. If you want to resize it a little bit, you can go to the corner and just kind of resize it a little bit, but keep it something along that line. Okay? Now we're going to insert a couple other pictures and start moving them around and kind of seeing what we can come up with. So go File, Import, and we can go Thumbnail, so you can take a look at what we're doing. We want to do a moon, so click, select the moon, and then just click on it, and again, see how the moon is awful big? So to resize that, we can come over here underneath our black pointer is the scale tool. So click on that scale tool. Make sure the top one is selected that says scale tool. And now when we come to the edge and we click and drag, it will stay in proportion. It won't get skewed. So it'll be still a perfect moon. Resize it, something along those lines. Move it up out of the way. Let's go back to the File menu, Import, and let's take a look at the thumbnails. And this time let's do the man with the spacesuit down here towards the bottom. Find the spacesuit guy and click Open. And I'm going to click and drag this guy so it's about the right size that we want it. I'm going to put him down there. Then we'll do one more picture for now. And I'll go File, Import. And let's view. And let's find a picture of the astronauts. So that's probably something we're going to center on somewhere along. So select on them, click Open, and click and drag, and bring those guys to about there. Okay? Now, let's start editing some of these pictures before we go any further. Let's take a look at the moon. If you look at the moon, it's a beautiful moon, but it's got this really strong black background, which is obviously space. But for our montage, we probably don't want just black. We want to be able to overlap our pictures somehow. So we want to get rid of that blackness. To do that, the quickest way to do that, if it's a solid color, is to use the magic wand. So with the moon selected, come over to your tools, find the magic wand. It's got a little thing at the end, little starburst at the end. Click on that, and then click in the black area, and it automatically selects everything of the same color, in this case black. You can see everything selected around the moon. Just go ahead and hit delete, and now the background is gone, and we are left with just the moon. To turn this off, you can hit your escape button in the upper left-hand corner of your keyboard. The button is ESC, so hit the escape button, and that's turned off. Okay? Now let's look at our dude down here in the spacesuit. Because there's so many different colors around the spacesuit. You know, this is one color. You got this black line, and you got the blue, and you got the black thing, and you got this kind of blue, light, different color blue here, and a shade of red here. The magic wand will not be effective in cutting this guy out of the suit. So we're going to use a different tool. Before we do that, though, we want to zoom in so we can kind of get a better look at what is going on. So come to the lower right-hand corner of your screen and change the zoom to, say, 150%. You might even want to zoom in to 200%. There you go. So we can really kind of zoom in there and see the guy. Now, there's two types of ways we can cut this out. One is the standard marquee, which only does a square. And since he's not a square, we don't want to use that. But we will come back to the standard marquee later. The other tool is this polygon lasso. It's right next to it. So click and hold and make sure you're using the polygon lasso tool. Not the regular one, the polygon lasso tool. Select that. And what this does, and watch this for a second, you'll start out off the picture, click once, and then let go. And then as you move your mouse, you can see how the line is adjustable until you get real close to their head and you click again. And once you click again, there's a point that doesn't move. And by doing this, you can come down a little bit and click, and come down a little bit and click. And you can form an outline, around your spacesuit man by every few inches clicking. And this way, you don't have to worry about having a steady hand or not. Once you have it in position, you can click. Now, once you get a little bit, like I've gotten just like kind of a fourth or a third of this, I'm going to come way over to the side. I'm going to come way up around the outside of the picture. And then once I get back to where I began, I'm going to click once. And once you form a circle, you can see that marquee now around that area you've selected. To get rid of it, you just hit the delete key on your keyboard. When you hit delete, it's gone. So now we've kind of started cutting him out. And we can kind of pick up where we left off. So come down here, click again. Well, if you click once, the marquee disappears. Then take your mouse, and again, you might want to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in again to 300%. And then you might have to scroll down and scroll over to kind of get really close. And start clicking and moving slowly along. Oops, I don't want that guy's shoulder, do I? So I'm going to come up and I'm going to just finish that off and delete that and come back down here and start again. And I want to stay around the guy, the spacesuit man, not the man in the background. And again, every few inches, I'm just clicking. So I have control. If you mess up, just hit undo, Control Z. Like for instance, if I clicked up here, like whoops, I didn't want to do that. Hit Control Z, and it takes you back. Whoops, I guess you have to go back and finish that, and then just hit Escape. Don't hit Delete there. Hit Escape. Turn the polygon lasso back on, and start over again. Not a big deal. People mix, you have a slip with a hand all the time. Just hit Undo, Escape, and kind of redo it again until you got it right. Now I'm going to pause the video. I think you should have kind of the handle of how this works. I'm going to let you finish carving out around the man. And every so often, when you get a good chunk, come way out the outside of the picture, come up, come over, and you don't have to be real accurate out here. You just have to be real accurate close to the guy. Finish your circle. Come on, where are you? There you go. I double click there, got that selected, and then I hit delete. And you can see the kind of the man is now starting to be carved out. You can then scroll down and scroll over to kind of get the bottom part of them. So you'll come here, and I'll just do this, and then I'll pause the video for you. You come down here, and then over and up, and just complete the circle. and then hit delete. Okay? So go ahead and do the same thing with the other side of the spacesuit guy. Then when you're finished, come back to the video and I'll pick you up and I'll be finished too. Okay, so now here you are, you're finished cutting the guy out. You can still see my marquee where I finished my last piece. I'm going to hit escape to turn that off. And then I'm going to zoom back out, come to the lower right hand corner. I'm going to zoom back out to 100%. Actually, I'm going to zoom back out to 66% so we can kind of see our entire document. And you kind of move, you might want to, if you have to, click on the black arrow again. You can see we've moved these things around, and we can kind of put the moon right on top of him, something along those lines. Okay? Now let's take our dudes over here, and let's move them kind of in the middle, right underneath our NASA logo. And let's insert a couple new pictures. So go to the File menu, File, Import, choose the thumbnail, and let's choose the moonwalk here. So click on that, wait a few seconds till it comes up in the preview window. And once it comes in the preview, then you can say OK. Remember, we're going to click and drag to get it kind of the right size that we want. And we want it just, a little bit bigger than, or at least the same size or a little bigger than the astronauts. Okay? And let's go back to File, Import. And let's go View, Thumbnails. And on the other side, let us do maybe the space shuttle here, the flying space shuttle. When it comes up in the preview, say OK. Let's click and drag. And now we've put that on top. Now, we kind of want our focus. This is where a little layout and graphic design comes into play. We want our focus to kind of everything lead towards the middle, to our NASA symbol. And right now our space shuttle is kind of flying in the wrong direction. It's flying off the page. We want it to fly into the page. So I'm going to select that picture, and I'm going to the space shuttle. We're going to come up to Modify, Transform, and then Flip horizontally. And now the space shuttle is flying in towards the middle a little bit. Okay? That's what we want. Now, for our guys, we want let's move to the guys on top right now. And to get them on top, we want to select them. And you can see these pictures are kind of layered, where, the first thing we put in was the NASA logo. And see how that's in the very back. Then we put in the pictures of the NASA guys. And then we put in the moonwalk, and then the shuttle was the last thing we put on. So it's sort of like if you imagine a paper on a table, the things you throw down first are on the bottom, and the things that you throw down last are on top. But we can change this order. For instance, we always want this NASA label to be on the top. We always want to see that whole logo. So select the NASA logo, come to the Modify menu, to Modify, Arrange, and we want it to bring to front. When we choose bring to front, now you notice it's on the top of everything. Okay? And let's go ahead and bring the astronauts to the front. So Modify, Arrange, Bring to Front. And you don't always want things kind of square. That's boring. You always want to cut things out or put things at an angle, just to kind of make it a little more interesting for the eye. So we're going to put the astronauts, turn them on an angle here. So select them, come over to our Scale tool, choose the Scale tool, and then when your mouse is a circle, click and kind of rotate it, kind of put it at an angle here a little bit. Something along those lines. Yeah, it's a little much. Something along those lines right there. Okay? And we're going to move it up a little bit so it'll be underneath, the frame will be underneath the logo a little bit. Okay? And then to turn this off, you can hit Escape. Whoops. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Hit undo. Let's try that again. Let's do the scale thing on, and let's rotate it. There we go, something along those lines. Now, click on the pointer tool, and you can kind of have what we want. So again, the NASA label went to the back. We want to bring that to the front again. So modify, arrange, bring to front. So that kind of is sitting on top of the astronauts. And we'll make the astronauts a little bigger too. So come back to our scale tool, choose the scale tool, and click and drag. Just make them a little bit bigger. Now I'm going to use my mouse key, or my arrow keys, you can hear it, just to nudge it over a little bit to get this guy, this middle one with the mustache, kind of right in the center there. Okay? Now let's go to the moonwalk, and we want to make that a little bigger now. So I'm going to go to the scale tool, click on the edge and drag it so it overlaps the astronauts a little bit. And let's bring that moonwalk to the front. So modify, arrange, bring to front. Now we have this picture here, now it's overlapping, and we want to have some overlap, but we have such a hard edge here. So we're going to show you a technique called feathering to kind of allow these two pictures to kind of become one, or at least make a soft edge. To do that, come over to your marquee tool. Now this is, we talked about this earlier, it's got this square, it only creates squares. So click on that marquee tool and create a square that includes the flag and the spacesuit, but it leaves an outside edge to it. Okay? Now you can see that square. We want to feather that, so go to the Select menu, choose Select, Feather, and the higher the number here, the more circular the image is. I put mine at 40. You can, actually, I'll probably reduce it to about 30. You can do yours whatever you want. Somewhere between 20 and 40 though. Say OK. You can see how it kind of puts a little edge to it. Everything inside is selected, but we want to keep everything inside. So let's select the inverse. Go to the Select menu, choose Select, Inverse, Select menu, Select Inverse. And now notice you can see the marquee around the outside of the picture. So everything on the outside is now selected. Go ahead and hit delete. And now you can see that edge is kind of soft. And we can, if we come up here and choose our black arrow again, click on, or hit escape, I guess, hit escape, you can see how that picture can be overlaid on top of the astronauts, and it has a little softer edge to it. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger by clicking and dragging, just making it a little bit bigger there. Now, and then going back to the black pointer, and notice I got a little edge on the side. You can, oops, back to the black pointer, hit escape, and you can bring yours down in the corner so it's not so much of an edge. You can do kind of wherever you feel it's nice. I'm just going to leave a little border around the outside of it there. And to make it look a little more smooth, I'm going to take this moonwalk picture and I'm going to make it a little transparent by selecting it, coming down to Properties, and choosing from 100 down to about 80. And now you can see it's just a little bit lighter. You can see a little bit more of the astronauts behind. We're going to do the same thing with our space shuttle. We're going to bring it to the front. So go Modify, Arrange, Bring to Front. Get our marquee, and I'm going to draw a square around our space shuttle here. All right. I'm going to feather it a little bit. So select, feather. We'll make this 20. So it's just turned a little bit. Select the inverse. So go to the Select menu and choose Select Inverse. And then delete. And now we have, and then hit escape. And now we kind of see how that's kind of just kind of going over that a little bit. Click the scale tool to make it a little bigger. And that way we can have the engines, the smoke down here, connect to the outside, so it looks like it's coming in. And it's going in to the astronauts. Okay? I'm going to make this a little lighter too, bring it down to about 80. All right? So there we are. We've got a little white space here, which we might be able to fill that with another picture later on. We might have to make these two pictures bigger. We'll just have to wait and see how it develops. All right? Okay, so let's take this guy over here, and let's move him down, and let's move the moon right behind him. Maybe we can move the moon, put the moon, well, no, let's put the moon over here, because again, that will draw our eyes more towards the middle. Okay? Something along those lines, okay? So we kind of have the bottom half of our montage selected. I'm going to go ahead and stop now, and we'll call this part 1 of our video. And then save this. If you haven't saved it yet, save it as space montage. And then stop, and we'll pick up on part 2 here.